one of the things they took away was for sale signs. Or we had no for sale signs, and now we do. I don't know when that was, 10 years ago. And as a realtor who kind of does a lot of business in here and I wouldn't say dominates, but does well in here, I hated for sale signs coming to the community because I didn't want anybody else to know who was selling in here. But as a homeowner, you want them.
Martha, unique HOA issues.
I can't think of any unique ones. I don't think HOAs are in imminent danger of disappearing. And we do rely on Mike to give us updates, whether it's, you know, things like the solar panels that didn't used to be allowed. I mean, they're making variations on what HOAs can restrict, but beyond that.
I'll go to our next two candidates. One comment that I wish to make on this issue is we have always struggled as a Greyhawk community, getting our community to unify and speak with at least a clear majority voice on important issues. It's been very difficult. A faithful few go to city council meetings and speak when the world is about to stop spinning. But short of that, it's been very hard. And with 3,800 residents, we have a lot of clout, a tremendous amount of clout within the government. And so the government connections are very, very important. But we need to find a way, a cause, that will motivate our residents collectively to join forces and speak with one voice. So, HOA issues.
Well, I'm not aware of any imminent issues, though there was another HOA on the news just yesterday. So
What did they do?
I don't even remember. I just
Flagpole.
know it was another big, you know, HOA issue where somebody couldn't do what they wanted to do, and it was just outrageous. And as soon as, you know, all that stuff comes on the news, and all the legislators, oh, you poor person, oh, you poor person. And, you know, and there are some HOAs that, you know, it's a power thing, and, you know, they got the wrong people on their board. And it's a power trip, and so then they do stupid things, and then they get themselves on the news, and it hurts all of us. So, you know, I think it's just a matter of trying to stay connected, understanding what legislation is coming down the pike, which since CCMC is the size CCMC is, they certainly ought to know any legislation's even being discussed. And so if we know that up front, I think individually, you know, the board, I don't think you're ever going to, there's some people that are politically inclined, and they're going to respond when you do a call for action. But there's, you know, the majority of people are politically inclined. But if each person that is politically inclined reaches out to 5 or 10 people, you'll come up with your clout.
Yeah, I mean, as far as HOAs, I mean, I think over the years some of the power has been drawn away from HOAs. And one of the things that comes to mind is, you know, we don't see as many foreclosures now. There was one in my neighborhood, and I know for a number of days they had, you know, some garbage in the driveway, and they were doing some things. You know, copper pipe was coming out of the garage. But there's been, the reins have been, or the power has definitely been stripped over the next, you know, however many years. And so, but I think one of the main things for board members is to use a common sense approach. And, you know, I've heard horror stories from boards where board members are getting people's cars towed. Can't pull, you know, it's tough to tow a car unless you meet certain provisions, right? Someone else is putting stickers on people's cars because they were parking, you know. So I think the main thing that we can do as a board and as a community is to use common sense, to stay within the CC&Rs, and just, you know, treat people how we normally want to be treated. It sounds really simple, but and there's some things that we don't have any power on. So if you like solar panels on houses, you can put solar panels on houses. The state, I think, took that power away from HOAs years ago, where you have to let somebody put them on. So if you like it, great. If you don't, that's taken away. But I think for us, just a common sense approach, and, you know, Michael and the management company will let us know, and our lawyers.
Yeah.
Michael, you have a question of our candidate?
No, I just wanted to, just informationally, because it's topical, you're talking about legislation, and one bill that is in the state legislature right now that's maybe getting some legs a little bit, we'll certainly get information out, is state statute now requires that if someone's in violation, we have to allow them 14 days before we can send another letter to cure a violation. There's a bill that's proposed that would extend that to 30 days. And if the homeowner responds, there's another 30 days added on to that. So I know now in violations, homeowners, 2 weeks seems like a really long time. So if this does get moving along, we'll certainly be letting you all know.
I find it very interesting because I've seen many of you here before, and you're knowledgeable residents, but no one has asked a question about finance. And I would say, having served many, many years and sat through many, many financial reports, that we are very lucky. We have had exceptional financial leadership on our boards and in our management company. We are in very healthy condition financially. Our dues are very modest compared to the communities around us. We do not use our Community Enhancement Fund for operating expenses. We have a neighbor very nearby that uses all of their community enhancement for operating, and when the legislature takes that away, their dues are going to skyrocket, and they're already much higher than ours to begin with. So I think, however, I would turn that compliment into a question of each of the candidates so that they have an opportunity to address, other than our finances are in great shape, what kind of transparency they might like, or what creative idea they might have, or what suggestion they would bring to the table in regard to finance. And I'm going to start with Madam Janet.
Yes, well, I mean, I'm thrilled that our finances are in great shape, and I was looking back, and it, based on what the information I have, I think for the Grayhawk Master Association, our dues have only increased $10 since 2003. So in 13 years, it's only gone up $10, which is pretty amazing. That's about 1.5% average annual increase. So that's pretty phenomenal to manage this size association with that small of an increase. So I think the board has done an exceptional job. I personally would like to see, once again, website, a little better financial information on the website. I think 100% of the information relating to finances, be it the operating or the reserve or the enhancement fund, should be on the website, and should always be at least within the last quarter. It may take too much effort or too much staff time to try and update it every month, but certainly to at least update it quarterly, because you don't want old information on there. I don't want it anyway. So I think that would be a good thing.
Finance.
Yeah, so as far as the finance, I'm for as much transparency as we can possibly do. I mean, I think residents should be able to see it, and I don't think anybody, or at least we're certainly in agreement. It's also really a testament to the board. I mean, I know tons of people who have horror stories about underfunded reserves. One thing I'm very, very against, and I hopefully is not ever going to be an issue at Grayhawk, is the idea of a special assessment. I don't like special assessments for two reasons. Number one is, if you're a resident who's been here for a long time, you have a special assessment, and then you're moving, it's not really fair, right? If you've just moved in, you're paying for something that means there was underfunding in the reserves. And so I'm definitely not for special assessments, but as far as finance, I mean, transparency is excellent. But I hope, and I think all of you do because you're here, the decisions a board make are really, really important, because it's very easy to spend money on really dumb things and waste money. And it seems like a lot of funds in the reserves, but it really isn't. And so one of the things that I used to do with my old community is doing long-term planning, looking at reserve studies. Reserve study will tell you need millions of dollars, and they'll tell you you need much more than you actually do. But long-term planning and understanding the scheduling and the process for different projects, it's really easy to take a good situation and turn it into a bad one. So something I had a lot of experience with the past place.
What are our reserves, Michael? For our reserve fund, is it?
Are you looking at a total number, or
Yeah.
percentage, or
It's about
70% funded? Grayhawk, was $700,000. There's
And special assessments?
never.
Never. Not one, even for gates and security systems and all of that. Finance, Martha?
I think we're fairly transparent. I think if it's not available on the website, you could come up and ask anybody and get a copy of what you want. I don't think things are passed willy-nilly. I think we look at them. It's like, I'm on the landscaping committee, so I'm familiar with that. We looked at expenses. Recently, all the irrigation system has been replaced, which cut our water usage considerably. We've looked at various contracts, you know, to make sure we're getting the best price, and I think that's what we need to do, is just not say this year is going to be next year.
Well, the big elephant in the room is, who's gonna be the next treasurer on the board coming up? I mean, that's been why we've been so successful, is we've had great board members, great treasurers. Linda talked Barb Nelson into staying another year last year. Barb's finally given it up. She's been fantastic, helping us get our reserves up to that 70% mark. But, you know, I could talk about all the plus stuff, but that's a very big concern for the board. Who do we got coming? Linda? Who's gonna fill those shoes?
Somebody sitting in one of these four
Somebody.
chairs. And it's probably, David is probably on this side of the room.
You think I asked that question for a dumb reason?
Why you ask?
Our budget, all total, all of the accounts, if I'm not familiar, is about a $4+ million financial report every month. And that's significant. Madam President.
I just want to do a comment on the term special assessment, because whenever that comes up, it can send a panic throughout a community. That is not something, as Mike said, never, and believe me, as a board member, that will not happen. The main reason it won't happen is our documents are so restrictive that in order to do any kind of special assessment, you would have to have the voting approval of 2/3 of all people who live here, not 2/3 of who vote. I can't imagine any circumstance that would make that number of people say, I'd like to have my dues raised higher than what the board is going to do. So that is not something that is ever discussed, nor in my, as long as I'm around, will never be discussed, won't happen here.
Derek, I think it would be interesting, it's boring, but if you get bored some night, our CC&Rs are pretty tight. Actually, sometimes the board would prefer them to be tighter. They're
Yes.
kind of gray and nebulous. In a few places, we would like more black and white decisive judgment. But they are good documents from good developers from the get-go. And that has been the foundation of a good community. Do you have other questions? You're going to vote. You're going to choose among these candidates. And one who is not here, unfortunately, didn't have the opportunity to answer my probing question. If you have no more questions, I would like each of the candidates to have one last comment for you. And they will be judged on their clarity and their brevity.
Good night.
Vote for me.
Thanks for coming. No, you know, certainly I'd love to have you vote for me. I love this community. I'd love to serve again for another 2 years. I actually look forward to board meetings once a month. It's kind of a weird thing.
It's interesting.
The cookies.
Yes. Yes, well, I'll take both of those. Vote for me, and and thank you very much for coming. I think I've served the community for the last 15 years and hope to continue doing it, but now on the Grayhawk board.
Yeah, whoever you get out of all of us candidates, you're going to do fine. So everyone, you know, it's great that people are volunteering. Since you mentioned the treasurer thing, I'll just mention I started as a treasurer with my past board and then later became a president. Believe it or not, they were paying over, I don't know, $500 a year just to hold accounts at bank accounts. They had $60,000 in reserves in a 120 unit community. when I got off the board, that's not the right way to say it. When I decided not to continue after, I don't know, it's 5 or 7 years, it was something like $700,000, and there was never a special assessment when I was president or treasurer, but certainly before then. So, although these are all great people, and so whoever you choose, you know, I think it's great. It's a good community, and I'm happy to be volunteer to serve. Thanks.
We hope that you will vote early and once.
Yeah.
Yes, we have to be careful. This is a political season. And that we will see you at the annual meeting. This year's annual meeting really is a special one because it's the 20th anniversary. I know our communications work area is doing a tremendous job in planning a special 20th year presentation. And I get the privilege of sharing from my viewpoint what it was to serve with your 3 presidents from the beginning of time until the current. And I'm not sure what I'm going to say yet. I'm accepting all bribes. Please come and meet personally, shake hands, ask questions that you didn't ask in public, personal probing questions, so that you get to know who is going to represent you in this wonderful community of Greyhawk. Thank you.
Thank you.